Hi, I'm Catherina Petit-van Hoey. Welcome to my presentation, The Art of Grieving, my personal alchemy story. I gave this talk in 2018 for a group of bereavement counselors in St. Albans, the United Kingdom, and subsequently have given this talk on various other occasions, including here in Valencia, where I'm currently living. And I'm very grateful to the Love Yourself project for inviting me to bring this presentation online, record it and put it on their website. So I have, for the purpose of this presentation, I have divided in 3 parts, so it's easier to record. So I will, you will not see me, you will see my slides, but you hear my voice explaining the things. So this is a lilac bush which grew next to, or still grows next to our front door at our house in the UK. And it's got a bit overgrown, and the postman had a bit of a difficulty to get to the post, to the door. So my husband had pruned the very vigorously this lilac bush, and I saw some potential in the branches. So I asked him to take all the side branches off and put the long branches, which were about 4 meters in length, in the garage to dry. A few months later, I had a little accident. I fell and I had a fracture or broken bit in my my lower leg. So I was in plaster for 3 months, and just in that time, I had to prepare for a major exhibition, and which was a half year later, or a year later maybe. Anyway, I decided with my leg in plaster to ask my husband to bring one by one those branches in, which I decided to wrap with threads like this. So in 2011, May 2011, I had this accident, and together with several messages of loss and hurt of friends and loved ones, I created I had the desire to express the need for healing and recovery in an artistic and symbolic way. Syringa vulgaris is the Latin name for lilac bush, and recuperatio is recuperating. So the process and act of wrapping is to provide a layer of protection and care, as with the wrapping of a bandage. I'm an ex-nurse, and this whole thing with having my leg in plaster, it was like to protect, and support the body in healing itself. Also, decorating wooden staffs or wands for magic or healing practices has been widely used throughout the ages in many different cultures. So the staff of Aesculapius, a single serpent encircling a rough-hewn knotty tree limb, is still used as a traditional symbol of medicine. So with this whole situation of having, my leg in plaster and having, several messages from people. One of my friends had breast cancer and another lost his parents. I decided to do it healing and wrapping those branches. So they were placed in the exhibition, whether or not they were placed in the Mill Green Museum, which was an open air. That is a big garden with a museum, which is a working mill where you can buy flour. And the garden is used in the summer. They have green teas in there, and there is some areas of reflection. This was an old Mill Green Jubilee garden, which is a knot garden. Traditionally, there will be medicinal herbs growing in there, which wasn't in this garden. But I decided it was a good, because of that tradition, it was a good place to put my branches in. So the four corners, the four corners in that garden, they present the four corners of the world, as the need for healing in all its forms affects the whole of humanity. One of the four branches of this installation has been given as a gift to a friend to support the healing process whilst grieving his parents' loss and in being able to let go of any obstacles in life, embracing hereby the gift of love and acceptance. This museum also had an indoor gallery, so I made also some smaller branches like these, which are called spirit branches, which had also little envelopes with a blank note card in there where people could write on some affirmations and give it as a present to somebody who's ill, maybe, or for any other reasons. So this particular one was my prototype. This was the first branch I did, which was for my eldest daughter's birthday, and all her friends on her party wrote a little message in that card, in those little envelopes, for her new year of life. So here are the branches I made for the exhibition, so people could buy those, and they're all smaller than the big 4 meters one. They're about 50 centimeters, and they all had a little envelope with a blank card where people could put something in. There are little crochet flowers on it, there are beads on it, and little tokens. And they're displayed here in the cabinet in the gallery of the very small gallery of the museum. Then, whilst the exhibition was on, our youngest daughter, who was an art student at Norwich University, got very ill, and we had to pick her up from Norwich, and the next day that she was home, we had to bring her to the hospital, and she was taken with ambulance. We didn't know what she had. No one knew what she had. She hadn't eaten for a whole week and kept being very, very sick. The doctors couldn't find what it was. After one day, she had to go on life support, and things rapidly changed. And after 3 days in the hospital, the doctors said they didn't know what it was. They couldn't do anything anymore. And basically, we were faced with the fact that we had to switch off the life support. So this all happened within 1 week time of her falling ill. So because of them not knowing what it was, there had to be an autopsy taking place. And because that all took time, we had the time to think of how we wanted the funeral to be. And it's already decided that it will be in cremation, but we wanted not a traditional funeral, but more in keeping with her as a personality, and also my interest in art, and also the importance that we realized it's not just us, the family, but all her friends and wider community of people needed to be part of it. So we contacted an organization called the Natural Death Center, which is a charity which is set up now, I think, over 20 years ago. And you can get any information you like on how to organize funerals yourself. So it's called DIY funerals. And also it gives people more insight of how much is dictated by funeral parlors and organizations, whilst more and more people want to give their own way of saying goodbye to their loved one. So through that organization, we had a whole resource of ideas. And one of the things was that we ordered a carton coffin online, which we then decorated with, for us, meaningful things. So the background here, you can see, are dressmaking papers. It refers to when she was a young child. Well, both my kids were young. I used to make all their clothes themselves. And it is also something symbolic for me, like patterns. It's like the patterns of life and the mending, making of a life, and the end of it. Those papers is called, they're from posters from Paper Girl Norwich, which was a project, her final art project, which she did, and lots of posters therevan which were left over, were used on decorating the coffin as well. And then we had a whole office in our house of friends and ourselves, my daughter, my husband, and me, all on phones and laptops, to organize all the different aspects, from picking up her body from the hospital to the end, life celebration and scattering of ashes. Everything we organized ourselves, but with help of friends. So one friend came and copied and printed all the Facebook messages on her Facebook page, where her friends expressed their love and grief for her, which were all cut out or torn out, and then part, of this whole collage on her coffin. And another friend, school friend, made the graffiti style, graffiti style letters, which were from an old Steiner watercolor painting. Our girls went to Rudolf Steiner school, and she cut out the letters from that and had little wings on the end. Here is another view, side view or end view of the coffin. Overnight in Norwich, a big graffiti appeared on a building near a roundabout in Norwich. We don't know who it was, but possibly one of her fellow students who wanted to express his grieving in this way. And Kiama loved graffiti, so do I. And especially here, living in Valencia, graffiti is fantastic. So we took a picture of it and put that on there as an honoring. So here is one in the side view. So it took my eldest daughter Ilana and me several days to do this, with pauses in between and doing other bits in between. So it was on our diner table, whilst Kiama's body was, after the autopsy, kept in the mortuary in Watford Hospital, where we later had to pick up her body. And she had also, her ex-boyfriend came and helped with pasting some of the messages on it. And then John, my husband, and my daughter Ilana and I, we put then in handwriting with felt tips our own messages and poems all over the coffin. And Kiama didn't like, and none of us liked, those big black hearses to carry the coffin. So one of her big things was she loved those VW vans, and ideally she would have wanted, a holiday going in a van with a plank on top, surfboard on top, and go traveling for a while. So we decided to find a company which hires out those VW vans, and our request was a bit unusual, that we didn't want it for a holiday, but only for 2 days to bring her body, pick up her body from the hospital and bring it the next day to the crematorium. So this was on the back of their what you call it, registration, was from the van. And Kiama loved cycling, and being half Dutch, she really embraced the cycling. In her first year, I believe, or in the second year, she took lots of her students and took the ferry and cycled from Norwich to Amsterdam with the ferry in between. And she was always out and about. So one of her old bikes, which we still had, we took apart and took a wheel off and made this flower arrangement. And the tulips were all from my Dutch family, so my sister and my brother and partner. And they also put some wildflowers in, because she loves out and about, going into nature. And then another friend had this lotus flower, which came all the way from, because a friend was just visiting them from Thailand, and it presented more spiritual side. We all practice meditation, and so did Kiyama, and this presented a more spiritual side. So we had a major life celebration, the organized. So after the last goodbyes in the crematorium, we went to the Rudolf Steiner School in King's Langley, which generously offered the school on the Saturday for us to have a major celebration of Kiyama's life with poems. There was a whole, one room was a whole gallery, art gallery of all her work displayed there, with fellow students from the University of Norwich came over 2 days before to set that all up. There was a whole timeline in the corridor with photos from baby till she was 22 when she died. And there was a lot of cohesion of 3 different communities: the university community, our family and friends community, and the community of the Rudolf Steiner School, where she went for kindergarten till and secondary school before she went to university. Although it was 3 different Steiner schools. This last one, she was the longest. And the whole Scottish Steiner community created all food and drinks for us to feed a whole big party of people to celebrate Kiana's life. At the end, after we had a week or so after, when we got the ashes, which was an enormous big pot, we decided we wanted to scatter her ashes at various places. Especially as we all as a family love traveling, we thought to scatter her wherever we go in this world. So and also we wanted to give people the opportunity, if they wanted to, her friends, to have some ashes and scatter themselves to special places. So scatter tubes are very expensive, and we found out that those sea salt pots from the supermarket, which were less than €1, were very handy for that purpose. So we bought 20-30 of those pots and decorated them with photos of her. And so several friends and family got a pot which they could scatter to their own wishes. We went back to the Netherlands where she was born, and the house where we lived nearby. We went scatter some ashes at the Steiner School there. All kinds of different places. Guernsey, where her grandparents from the father's side came from. Her father grew up in Guernsey, so she was scattered there at several places. And yeah, she even the tutors from the university. One of them was. They were very into surfing, surfboarding, and in the North Sea. And Kiyama was very interested in learning to surf. So they took I think she went with some of the teachers to learn some surfing. And they took one pot, and 3 of the teachers went surfing and scattered her in the North Sea, scattered her ashes in the North Sea. So I will stop with this part of the, and then we'll carry on for the second part later.